Because you're listening to somebody who really believes this stuff and practices it and lives it on a regular basis. I was being interviewed in Chicago this summer, and a woman said to me, she said, you know, there are a lot of people out there who would suggest that you're making a lot of money off of these books and tapes and programs that you're putting out there. And I said, well, they would be right. I am. A lot of money. I said, yes, that's true. And she said, well, don't you feel a little bit guilty about making money off of these kinds of things? I said, well, you know, I really would feel guilty. I would like to feel guilty about it. I said, but it's not my fault. She said, what do you mean it's not your fault? I said, well, money is just a symbol of the abundance that the source offers for the entire universe. It's an endless supply, and it's neutral. It's just one symbol of it, and it really doesn't care where it goes. And wherever I go, it just follows after me. It's not really my fault. She said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I lived in foster homes and orphanage when I was a kid, and I was the richest kid in the orphanage. I said, everybody else used to talk about not being able to get money to buy a Coca-Cola for themselves or a donut or whatever, and to me, it was just so simple. I just always felt that I was entitled to have money show up in my life. And because of that belief, because of that absolute knowing that I was entitled to have this abundance show up in my life, I acted upon that belief. And as a result of acting upon it, when it would snow, I'd go out and shovel people's snow. First, I used to ask on the doors, would you like to have your snow shoveled? And people would say no. Then I discovered if you go out and shovel the snow and then tell them I shoveled your snow, and you go up there with your best little orphan behavior, dress up as Oliver, wear your mittens that have holes in them. They're better than the good mittens you have back in the drawer. Bite your fingers so they look red. Get your ears nice and red. I just shoveled your walk. Sometimes you get a dime. Once I got a quarter. It doesn't sound like much, but that was 1947. That's $2,000 in today's money. People used to drink soda bottles, and I found out that you could get 2 cents for a soda bottle, for a soda pop bottle. I used to follow people around who were drinking soda pop. Excuse me, will you be done with that soon? What do you want? What are you doing? Well, I'll just, when you're done, I'll just take the bottle off of your hands and would take them back. I'd go down to the grocery store and carry out little old ladies' groceries. And in a sense, that's what I do today, just to larger audiences in a little different form. But abundance is something that you attract into your life because you have an awareness internally that you're entitled to it and that it is something that you are already a part of. And if you don't have, it's like I've told Sky when she wanted to get her CD out there, I said, honey, you've got to contemplate yourself as surrounded by the conditions which you wish to produce. Always contemplate yourself surrounded by the conditions you wish to produce. One of the favorite observations I made from the Thomas Troward lectures back in 1907 in Scotland, the Dory lectures. He said, we know that by the very nature, now get this is really good. We know that by the very nature of the creative process, we are one with the originating spirit. We are one with the spirit from which we emanated. And therefore, we are one with all of the principles of its being. And consequently, we are one with its infinite personality. And therefore, our contemplation of it, get this, our contemplation of it being this creative process, is the power which we want to give us the ability to use that power. It is only in the contemplation of that power that you are able to get that power. And you cannot contemplate what you don't want, which almost all of you do on a regular basis, and keep getting surprised that what you don't want keeps showing up. The law of flotation, as I've told Sky 10,000 times, was not discovered by the contemplation of the sinking of things. The law of flying 100 years ago was not discovered by the contemplation of the staying on the ground of things. Imagine the Wright brothers saying, this thing will never get off the ground, and going to Kitty Hawk with that kind of a belief system. It is in the ability to get that vibrational match that I just spoke about that I want to move to now. And that vibrational match that I'm speaking about is to look at any desire that you might have in your life and to understand one of the things that Einstein suggested also, which I spoke about last week in New York, was that everything in this universe is energy and that nothing happens until something moves, said Einstein. That it's a universe of movement, a universe of energy. And that I was down in Australia and they asked me on a TV show down there in August, what is your mission? And without even hesitating, and I wasn't even sure where it came from, I said, my mission is God realization. And she said, well, what do you mean by that? And I wasn't even quite sure. I know that I came across a quote. One of my very favorite observations is this quotation from Swami Paramananda. Now listen to this. Self-realization, he said, means that we have been consciously connected with our source of being. Consciously connected with our source of being. Once we have made this connection, then nothing can go wrong. So if you can make the connection to God realization, if you can do that and understand what it is and what it means. Now, in The Power of Intention, I've talked somewhat about connecting to this source, and I've tried to... When I sat down to write it, I sat down with a purple pen and a pad of paper, and I just allowed it to flow through me. It was the same thing that I was telling you before about contemplating, seeing, thinking from the end, always acting as if what it is that you would like to attract into your life is already here.